How's it going, everybody? So today we're going to be installing we call it an integrated dash cam for a Lexus RX 450h. This particular dash cam has come from AliExpress. I'll put links in the description below. Let's see, I haven't seen this documented very well anywhere. There are videos out there obviously filmed from the Chinese, however obviously any description or particular instruction on a particular model of this device or variations of this device are not very well documented. There's more of a generic examples that they show. But anyway, let's have a look. We'll look at the box, have a look at the contents, we'll go through the wiring, and let's see if we can pull this off. Okay, thank you. So here we have the box. It's all in Chinese, but it basically says 4S Smart Auxiliary Device Control System. So I'll try and open it with one hand best I can. Okay, so we do have some form of instructions. So please read carefully before installation. Oh yes, so there's an app that you can download. There's some QR codes for that, either for Android or iPhone. Seems to be some detail in here which hopefully will be helpful. I'm sure it will be. And some photos, so that will help as well. They do provide a clip removal tool, plastic tool, which should hopefully help us to remove the panels above here. So let's give it a go in a minute. Yep, there's various wiring that can be done. This particular one hijacks power from the light panel above rather than from the fuse box, which is my preferred option. I think a lot of online material suggested not to connect these kind of devices directly to the fuse box, because you'll probably be bypassing fuses, which makes sense not to do that. Okay, yeah, there's quite some detail in here. I'm not going to go through it all in video, but okay. There's a main box. Let's get this out. Try and do the best I can. So I'm assuming the main unit is within here. It's never good to do with one hand. All packaged. So this is the main camera. Here we go. So this should be a like-for-like replacement panel with the one above here. And obviously you can see the camera's got one button, camera photo function, slot for an SD card. I purchased my SD card separately. Tips: turn off the power before installation. It's recommended to format the memory card 1 to 2 times a month. Okay, right, so what I've done, I've gone ahead and bought myself a high endurance SD card, specifically for dash cams or home security cameras. Worry-free recording day after day, so you can record up to 10,000 hours of continuous video recording. I assume the overwriting isn't going to be too much of a problem on here, so hopefully I won't have to format it like it says so many times, but let's see. I'm assuming we've already experienced some kind of issue with the overwriting, so maybe it may be a manual process once it gets full up, who knows. Let's see. Anyway, so yeah, so this is the main integrated panel with dash cam. There's some wiring. So this particular model, I've also bought it with a rear camera, so one of these will connect, but I guess these will both. I guess there's chips inside that bit there that manages everything, so yeah, one will be for the power and one will be for the rear camera. These are the types of connectors that we've got, so there's several pins in there that I guess will connect to the power and connect to the camera. So okay, let's set this aside for a minute. Some packaging. this is the rear camera, I assume. Packaged up. So this will be the second part of the install, going to the rear of the vehicle. I will look at this a bit later on in more detail. Right, so I've unpackaged this off camera, but here we go, just to speed things up. Here's the rear camera. I like the design of this because it looks almost OEM, so you can kind of put this somewhere in the rear window that will, in such a way that it will look almost OEM. That's the plan anyway, I don't know. So there's actually bracketry on there. Again, so this particular connector is the 4-pin one, so that will connect into the one that I showed you earlier on the main harness. So let's set this aside. There are mounting options here, so one of them's well, it's not 3M, but it's equivalent, I suppose. Hopefully, and some screws, but I don't think I will be using screws in my vehicle because I don't want to damage any of the trim, so we'll go for the 3M option. Hopefully that should be good enough. If not, then I'll go and source some proper 3M. So let's set all this stuff aside. I think there is one more box, so this one here should contain the plastic removal tool and the main wiring harness that we're going to use to hijack the wiring in the lighting panel. So yeah, that's the main harness there. You can see some power coming out of it, so that will be good. And this kind of bypasses, so you'll unplug the male connector that's currently plugged into the equipment above, and plug that into there. The female end of the OEM wiring harness will go into this one, and then this one will actually go into our new kit. So let's set that aside, and then let's see. So yep, we have a plastic removal tool. It's just a cheap thing really, but it will do the job. Let's set that in there. It's nice of them to include it, and some length of cable, I guess, to go over the headlining from the front to the back. So I'll probably get a coat hanger wire one and unravel it and tape off the ends with insulation tape, and tape this onto that coat hook and push it through, hopefully without any trouble, but let's see. Alright, so I guess the next thing to do is to do it. So let's see how we're going to do that. Okay guys, so I'm going to try and explain this. I've already partially dismantled this above, but I'll go through the steps. It's very difficult to do it because the clips are really strong. I didn't anticipate for that, so it's taken me a few goes to get this far, but I've kind of mocked up how everything originally is. So first of all, you will need to move your wing mirror down to make this panel accessible here. Then you need to put this clip behind and prise down, and that should remove the top clip. Oh, we've removed everything. No, that wasn't supposed to happen. So I've actually removed 2 clips from here, so that was quite comical, sorry about that. So this actually goes up here. Right, so once you remove that front bit there, you then you have to pull quite hard, but you slide it, hopefully you can do it in a controlled manner, down first and then lift it off that way. And then what you're going to have to do, which I've already done, sorry it's been done off camera, is you just use your pry tool very carefully to remove the clip from there. There's a red clip from there, and you install it onto your aftermarket camera piece up here. So that's all prepped now, ready to go. This, the aftermarket replacement panel here is actually different from the OEM one, so don't get them mixed up, otherwise you'll, well, you won't be there forever, but you'll be wondering why that they don't clip back together at the end. So anyway, let's set this on the back seat just to one side now. Now, your next challenge, that if you thought that was challenging, okay. The next bit is even more of a challenge. That's why I've prepped it ready for you all. So in order to do this, how I found is this corner on, if you're in England, the right hand side we drive on, so the left hand side is the passenger seat. you would put this tool in here and slowly prise it until you can see a gap happening, and then do the same on this side. And once you've got that far, I suggest you sit back into the seat, because you're going to need a lot of pressure to do this. So you would sit in the passenger seat, right, assuming this one was clipped in, because the backs are also quite hard to do. I'm assuming this isn't a panel that's removed very often, but probably with both hands. I'm only doing it with one here because there's only one clip left in. Even that's quite hard. You would need to pull down as hard as you can. So you need to pull down quite hard. Be careful of the thin plastic strip around the edge. You don't want to rip that off. Inside there's a black piece. That's the bit you want to grip. Okay, and the only way I've found to do this, and you think you're going to break it, is to pull down really hard until you hear this click happen, right? And then you will need to follow that round, and the back has equivalent clips, and you need to put the same kind of pressure. Bearing in mind, this is the kind of clip you're dealing with, okay? And you're going against the grain here. So you're going to need quite a lot of pressure to do this. Hopefully you don't damage the clips. Mine are looking a bit stressed, maybe. Need to just squeeze them back in slightly. Hopefully they are quite solid clips actually, so they should remain intact for you, and hopefully you're not going to repeat to do this. But anyway, we've got thus far. This is what you should end up with, and once you're in this position, you're pretty much good to go. I mean, that is literally the majority of the work done now. The rest of the work is basically going to be to hot swap a couple of these wires, and if you've got the rear camera like I do, the challenge is to try and navigate that cable all the way down to the back there. So that's probably going to be my next challenge, but let's see. Okay, so I thought I'd deal with the wiring harness next, which seems to be the next point of call. So one end will connect to the rear camera. That's that connector, and the other end is your hot swap wire, so it basically goes in between the OEM and the panel to hijack some power. Okay, so I'm on the passenger side of the car. As you can see, that's the side you need to be on apparently for this wire, so this is the side that we're going to remove, and it should be quite straightforward. So let me just take this out with my thumb. Hopefully this doesn't go wrong. So yeah, so that's come out of there. This is the cable you're left with. Okay, so what you want to do is plug that end of the cable there into the female end of the jump wire that we have. I don't know what you call this. Interface wire. So that goes into there. And then you plug the other end back into your overhead panel. So let's try and do that. And that is how it should look. So obviously this one now is from my rear camera. So I'll do this. It's very nicely wrapped up. I think it feels like there's some kind of junction box or circuitry inside there, and then obviously these are padded so it doesn't rattle when you're driving around, so that's very nice. Hopefully it should be, there's a little well up here where the wiring will end up, so that is very good. You won't need to worry about space as long as you align everything correctly in there. It looks like, to be honest with you, it already wants to kind of sit in that place. So hopefully that won't be a problem, because I've noticed on this particular model, which is right-hand drive, there is this little box here which potentially sits up in that space. So you might have to do a bit of finesse or something to get this to work, but let's see. We haven't got that far yet. Worst case scenario, I guess we can tuck it up the side here. I guess that's maybe the intention. Yes, I think it's a better idea, because obviously it's coming out the side here, right? So we'll just tuck it in the side there. Okay. Alright, so the next part of our challenge, make sure that we don't send the wrong end of this cable up to the back of the car. So what I suggest is, there's another suggestion as well that I'll make in a minute, but I think the best thing to do is first, Ah, so no, I've got this wrong. This one will be for your camera, which powers it. So that one is actually going to go forwards, and we'll have to route it down there once we put this panel back up. The other wire, which is this one, connects to our front camera here. So what we'll need to do now is determine which connector it is. If I remember correctly, it's one with 4 pins. So this one will connect to the cable that is up here, because it's got multiple pins on it. And this one will be for the rear camera. And if you notice, this seems to be a female connector. So what we need to do is make sure that the male connector, which is that one there, this one stays at the front end of the car with that cable. Then we'll thread this one to the rear of the car over the headliner. Right, so whilst we're here, maybe we'll start reinstalling some stuff. I can't see why you would need this off anymore. So I guess what we need to do is thread these wires through openings that are currently there. Let me get into position. So I can see quite a few openings there where wires already go through. Let me try and do this without damaging anything. Okay. Right, so let's put these up. It's very hard to do. Let me do it and I'll come back. Right, so I've threaded these 2 wires through there, and they go up into the panel here. Let me try and get a wider angle, right? So they've gone through the hole just here, and they've come out from there. Okay, now I'm going to put this panel back on. So I want to button this side up. I think it needs to go further back first. Alright, so I've put everything in. Let's try and send it. There we go. And it's in. Lovely. Okay, so that's on now. It's going to sit there forever. Yeah, looks good. Let's put the finishing panel on so we can close this section off. That was really easy to do. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so that's all in. Camera, I'll remove the film off the lens later, but look at that. Nice. So that's all integrated now. No problem. Let's set the wing mirror back here. There we go. Right, so now all we're left with is this bit. So we can, what I would suggest to do is plug this in and then maybe put some electrical tape around so that it doesn't come off. So this is the wire here. So that needs to go, no, not that one. This one with the multiple will plug into this one. So let me do that then. So I've connected it, but I haven't pushed it all the way in yet. So now it's all the way in, but I will get some electrical tape and wrap that up so that it doesn't come out whilst driving. No vibrations will make that come out. So that's the best way to do it. Okay, now the next challenge will be before I put this panel back in, I want to run that cable now to the back of the car, so I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright guys, so what I've done now, I've just quickly detached that side and gone back to the driving side of the car. Right, what I've done is, I had this in the garage, so this is essentially 2 wire coat hangers unravelled and electrical taped together, which will give me extra length. Now my plan is, I'm going to unravel this in a sec, the plan is to make sure that I keep the correct end at the front of the car. So if you remember 2 minutes ago I was saying the male end here is the one we want to keep and plug in, so I might plug it in now to this one, just to make sure. There we are, so I've plugged it in. Just off camera. Right. Now this end is the end that we're going to put over the roof lining. So what I'll do is I'll electrical tape this onto that. I'll cut off camera because it's going to take a couple minutes to do, and then I'll come back. Alright, so what I've done here, this is the coat hanger. I've unravelled it all, and I have electrical tape to the connector to the end of it. I'm going to use it to fish the wire all the way from there down to the back of the car. So I'm going to go and open the rear hatch now, and then we'll start fishing it down. So eventually you want it to come out of here somewhere. I think we should be able to pull it off. So we'll just leave that little gap there for a sec. Okay. I'm going to fish this in now. So let me see if I can place this down here somewhere. So hopefully that will give you a view of it. I don't know. Let's see. Get it down there. I don't know. Okay guys, so what I've ended up doing is I've managed to get the coat hanger through here and out of that panel. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread the correct end onto here that needs to go backwards, and then I'm going to fish it through. Alright, I'm going to make sure I double tape it on there so it's not coming off. Put it through this bit, and then the last hurdle will be to go from there to the back of the car at the middle. Wish me luck. Alright, so I've connected the wire at the front. Now I'm going to start pulling it from here. You should start seeing it go in. It's going to come through now, hopefully, gently. Come on. Yeah, come through. Okay. This is very finicky. It's taken me. There we are. Okay, it's here. Alright, now next job, let's feed the wire from there to the back. Alright guys, so what I've done now, I've taken this one here, threaded it up here, and it's coming out the back of the car. Okay, so now what I need to do is tape on our connecting end, because I've removed it so I can get it in. So I'm going to tape this onto here again, and then going to put it through, and then we should have it to the back of the car. We can start buttoning up the front. Alright guys, so I've now affixed the cable to the end of the pull rod. We'll go around back and put it through. Should be quite straightforward, hopefully. Hopefully it stays on. Yes. And there we have it. So our cable's now threaded through. There we are. Now we can undo this, and I'll get to buttoning up the front. Okay, so I'm going to close the front up now. What I've done is I've wrapped some car insulation tape, which is covered in material fabric, around the connectors to stop them coming undone as you're driving along. I bundled up the excess cable and also wrapped that as well with some of that tape just to keep it in place. So I'm going to put this up here out of the way to the side, and also the same with this wiring. So let's put that all down the side there, and we can close this section up. Okay guys, so what I've ended up doing, I've threaded that cable up to the inside, up through here, and actually out through there. And then what I've done is remove the back trim from here. It's very easy to do, just use a plastic removal tool. I've worked out that the camera should sit upside down like this. So the idea now is, you see this bracket here, I've actually unscrewed it and flipped it. Originally it was the other way up, it was upside down. So I've inverted it and screwed it on that way, which is fine. My idea now is, because this bracket sits on up here like this, so the thin edge is against the glass here. What my plan is, I'm going to go and get the glue gun. I think it's the least invasive way of doing it and semi-permanent way of doing it. I'm then going to move the cable to one side, right in the middle here, you see? I'm going to glue gun it onto there with a hot glue gun, and that should be more than enough If I want to in the future, I'm pretty sure I can just pry that off without needing any residual damage. So I'm going to get the glue gun, we'll glue it on here. Then obviously the hinge there is adjustable by screws, so we can set the angle once that's done. We'll install the app, we'll test it. I've actually pre-installed the app, but I'll go through it again just for demonstration purposes. And yeah, so this needs to be mounted so that it's upside down like that, and that will then video the correct way up. Okay, so alright guys, so I have now glue gunned, well yeah, hot glued the camera bracket onto the plastic trim. I've tightened down the bolts and the hinge there, so they're a little bit tight, so it gives me, it's quite hard to get the screwdriver in the hinge now that it's on. I suppose you can still do it, but I've just about tightened it. There's this little play in there, so we can just adjust it a little bit now. The plan is to tidy up this cable with less than slack on it, but I'm going to tie it up to the cabling harness that's on here, so it's all neat. And the idea now is it should look really OEM once it's up. So let's do that and let's put it back together. Okay, so that is now glue gunned, or hot glued on rather. This one is all tied up with the nice factory looking tape. So we'll just now reclip this trim back in and we should be good to go. Just have to adjust the camera once the back hatch is shut and we have the app running so we can make sure it's all good. Good to go, so I'll just place this back in. Should be good to go. Camera. Take this lens cover off. There we go, right, let's shut the hatch and have a look from the inside and see if it needs adjusting. Hopefully this will work and it's not pointing down to the ground, but I've got a feeling that it will be. But let's see, who knows. Guys, that's the rear camera, that's the full install. Now the rear hatch will go up and down, the cabling goes through all the OEM places, and that is it. That is literally what it sticks out, and it pretty looks almost OEM. You can tell that it is. I like the outer housing shape. The shape of it looks pretty like OEM-ish. Alright, and that's the full install. So we'll go now to the front and have a look. Inside looks pretty OEM too. So there you go, that's the finish of it. So yeah, it doesn't really obscure your view. There's a little bit sticking out, but it's okay. And it has the instructions there. So a little QR code to download the app. So it's all good if you sell the car, someone else can pick it up and take it over. You might want to remove your SD card if you do so though. And we're all good. So next step, I will show you the app. Then we will be all good. Let's close the hatch. There we have it. Not too much obstruction in the rear view mirror, dead bang in the middle. Very good. Alright guys, next step is to fire up the app and see how it looks.